Okay, hello everybody. I'm sorry I'm not in there in class with you guys. I am unfortunately a little sick, but I'm hoping to get back to class as soon as I am able to. But in the meantime, I didn't want you guys to lose that many class days where you're just doing nothing. So what we're going to be doing is I am going to be recording a little bit more information for you guys about masking images from their background and kind of adjusting and refining those masks. So you have a little bit more of an understanding of that, hopefully. And then you can use this with your guys' practices that you can keep working on today. So I have this image here that I've been practicing with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by using one of my selection tools. I think I'm going to use the magnetic lasso tool. I'm going to take a second here just to make a selection of the person. So I'll do that and I'll be right back. Hello, Matthew from like an hour later. There's something I forgot to mention. So if you look here and you have a selection, you can actually add and subtract to the selection after you make it. So if we look at my selection, if we zoom in over here, you can see there's some of the hair that I kind of missed out on. If I take one of my selection tools, one of my lassos, and you hold down Shift, the Shift key, you can add to a selection you already have. Boom, look at that, awesome. If you want to remove from a selection, you can see like there's some area in here that's a little lighter. If you hold down the ALT, the Alt key, if you hold down the Alt key, that will subtract from your selection, so I can remove that little part out there. Amazing, oh my gosh. So cool, all right. All right, now I have a selection of the person, so I'm gonna go here down to the bottom of the layers panel on the right. I'm going to click the mask button, and there we go. Now it is masked. It's not perfectly masked though. There are some areas, like if you look up here, there is a little bit of the green background that's popping through. I didn't get, like it kind of got cut off here on the edges. And so how the heck do we adjust this? No worries, we're going to figure it out. So if we go to our layers, you can see there's the layer, and it's kind of split into two here. We have the image itself, and it's linked together with the mask. And the mask is this black and white area. Notice that the black areas are the areas that are masked out. Those are the areas that are hidden. And the white areas are the areas that show through. And we can adjust the mask by using that knowledge. So if I make sure I'm clicked on that, I can go to my brush tool, and I can use either white or black to adjust the mask by just painting right on top of it. So if white shows, I'm going to change my brush to white. I'm making sure it's pure white, so I'm going all the way to the corner to make sure it's pure white. I'm going to zoom in, and if I just paint with my brush tool on the areas that I missed, like this, oh, kind of went sideways there, all right. I can paint in the areas that I missed. And it looks like over here in the corner, I painted in a little bit too much. Maybe I'll, paint in a little more so you can notice. There we go. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Now we can use the other color, black, to hide more. So if I go to my color selector, I change the color to pure black all the way down in the corner. I can now paint away that area that I accidentally brought in. And now you might want to adjust how sharp or hard or soft the edges are to the areas of the image. You can see on the shoulders, maybe we want it to be a little more sharp, a little more defined. And it also looks like we have a few areas that are a little jagged, so we might want to clean that up. If we go to our brush over here on the top, we can adjust how hard the edge of the brush is. So if hardness is turned down to 0, you can see that the brush is very soft. Let me remove those 3. If hardness is turned all the way up to 100%, you can see the edge of the brush is very sharp, very hard. So I can use a hard brush to get the edges, oops, maybe a little too much. to get the edges of the skin. So down here I used a softer brush, and so I might clean it up very carefully. Maybe I took a little too much away. Very carefully with a hard-edged brush. That looks pretty good. Now, the hard edge for the hair looks pretty wonky. Hair is kind of irregular and jagged and soft, and there's lots of little gaps of light that usually peek through. And so when it's got this hard edge, it doesn't really look natural. So we want to refine that. And we could use a soft edge brush, you know, to soften the edge of the hair. And I think that helps a little bit, sure. But then it kind of just looks like a soft sponge, and it doesn't really look like hair, right? Hair is a little more imperfect. So there's another way we can refine masks in Photoshop, and I'm going to show you that now. If you go over to the Properties panel, when you have the mask selected, you can go down to the bottom where it says Refine, and you can click Select and Mask. That's going to take you to this new window, and this is a window for just refining the mask as it already is. You can adjust the transparency of the mask. So if you want to see the background a little bit more, like if you want to see over here the hair that might be missing from the mask, you could do that. Or you can have transparency turned all the way up, like the mask would actually look. Even if you have the transparency turned down, once you click OK, it'll just get set right back to normal. So once we are in here, I'm actually going to turn transparency up. We are going to look at these new tools on the left side. We have a couple here. I'm going to hover over this for a sec. You can see it's called the Refine Edge Brush tool. This is great for refining the edge, especially with hair. So I'm going to use this, and I'm just going to paint over the edge of the hair. And you can see that it's doing a pretty good job of trying to figure out where the edge of the hair is. The last tool on the side here that we want to look at, this one is a brush tool. It works to either add or remove by just brushing it on. So we can add some on, or we can use this to remove from the mask. So we can use this to get a little bit more meat in the image, and we can use the Refine Edge one. Let's hit Add to try to refine the edge of the hair. And I find that the Refine Edge tool, especially for imperfect hair, gets a really good result. Not a perfect result, but a really good result. So let's take this, I'm going to click OK, and we're going to compare the two sides. So if I zoom in over here, this is just the selection and the mask. You can see I have this very sharp edge. And then over here, we got a pretty good natural looking edge to the hair. This isn't perfect, and it looks like I accidentally grabbed a little bit more of the image that I wanted. So I can just go in and use my black brush tool to paint some of that away. Some of that extra stuff that I accidentally grabbed. And I think the edge of the hair over here, it's not perfect. We can adjust it with the paintbrush, but it looks pretty good. And we can test how good it looks by adding a color layer behind it. So I'm just gonna add a layer of red. I'm gonna drag it below my mask. And this is a great way to check yourself and find mistakes. So we can see that down here, there's some more of the mask that we need to adjust. So let's go to our paintbrush. Let's paint that area out there. There we go. But you can see that this Refine Edge, it does a really good job of capturing that detail of the hair automatically, and you can refine it just how you want it to look. And it looks a little better than just doing a selection and just clicking mask. This looks a little choppy and a little unnatural. So I want you to use this information for your guys' practices. I want you to refine the edges of your selections and try to get them as perfect and as natural as you can get them. I want you to adjust them until you think they look just right and you have no background showing and it doesn't look unnatural, kind of like this side does right here. All right, you guys are gonna do great. Give it a try.